Hello people, my name is Rage, and welcome back to that time again where we review, judge, and all around stare at and make noises at grand tournament card reveals until we're satisfied. We totally know how good a card is. A bunch more have been revealed, and honestly, some ridiculously interesting ones. So let's get on with this. Okay, so first up we have a new common card, the Lance Bearer. Battle cry, give a friendly minion +2 attack, and a 1/2 for 2 mana. Now it is permanent, like all Dark Iron Dwarf, so it's just an extra mana for the permanency, and a 1/2's terrible. A 1/2 for 1 is terrible. Never mind for 2 mana. The extra 2 attack permanently is nice, but I just think it's too weak a body. There's never a time you want to play this over an abusive sergeant, because you use this and you trade up. You don't really need to keep the attack. It's very rare that you want to keep the attack, and it's very rare the creature that's just traded up is still alive, because it's traded up, therefore it's going to take a lot more damage than it has health, most likely. I think this card is just terrible. I really do. I mean, it's a weak as hell body. If Abusive Sergeant didn't exist, this card would be okay. But I just think Abusive Sergeant is just better in every single way. And I obviously don't mean factually is, because obviously it being permanent, having extra health, that's better than Abusive Sergeant. But in terms of how well it performs in a deck, I think this has nothing over Abusive Sergeant. And because of that fact, I just think it's terrible. I mean, I could be wrong with this one. It just seems really, really bad. Alright, so next up we have the Lights Champion. A 4/3 for free that silences a demon. This is interesting. 4/3 for free isn't horrible. I mean, it's not great. It trades down with 2 drops that are free 2s, but, you know, it definitely could have worse stats. It's a spellbreaker for a less mana, but it's specific to demons, and I kind of like this card because I think it supports something I'm going to talk about later, and I think it's a preemptive counter to one of the new Warlock cards, which makes me happy because I kind of like it. You'll see when we get to it. But apart from that, I could see this actually being used by Warlocks playing demons, even if it's as small as turn 2 Wrathguard, turn 3 you silence away its negative effect. Yay, that's fun. But this is probably better placed as an arena card, honestly. Get rid of pesky floating watchers and maybe even a Mistress of Pain, although they're not that good, but they do tend to get buffed because it's a very effective card to apply a buff to. But I could see this being a niche tech card if Demon Lock becomes really, really powerful, and if not, just a fairly okay 3/4 free with a potential upside in Arena. Next up, we have a new epic then. Grand Crusader. 5/5 for 6, which is very understated. You want a 6/7 for 6, like the Boulder Fist Ogre, and even that's not played, so the effect better be good. Add a random Paladin card to your hand. I mean, to be fair, the Grand Tournament is very Paladin-y. It's a lot of Paladins running around, so I can see why this is a neutral card, although I do feel bad for dedicated Paladin players. So it is a random Paladin card worth giving up free stats and paying an extra mana. Is that worth it? I think, actually, it kinda might be. I mean, generating cards that aren't in your deck is very good. It's a very powerful effect, especially in Hearthstone. Drawing is very good. Having more than 30 cards in your deck is very good. So this card does have that going for it. However, is a random Paladin card going to be worth it enough of the time to run this in your 6 mana slot and compete against other very good 6 mana creatures? Maybe. Maybe. Because obviously if you get something like a True Silver, like Tyrion, like the new Legendary, like Guardian of Kings, you know, something very big, very high impact, you've got a lot of value out of this card. However, if you get a terrible secret like Eye for an Eye, then you feel terrible for having played it. Despite the 5/5 not being horrible, it's not great for 6, but it's, you know, it's not that weak, so you've not lost that much. And in terms of mana then, it's, even if you get a 1 mana card, it kinda adds up with the 6 mana cost. I think on average, hell, even an Aldor Peacekeeper and Equality is pretty good. someone would have to work out the amount of paladin cards there are versus the amount of good paladin cards, and if the amount of good is over 50%, then I think this card could be okay. I kinda do. There are a lot of situations where it goes very wrong, but there are quite a few situations where it could crush the game for you. It really could. If there isn't that much 6-mana competition, I could see this being played. If there is, there's probably better cards. It's an interesting one, though. It is a very interesting effect to just give you a random class card from a class that you're not even playing at the time, unless, of course, you're Paladin. So, I'm on the fence with this one. I think it either might be very solid and see a lot of play, or just terrible. Just terrible. I don't think there'll be a middle ground with this card. So yeah, next up then, we have a brand new legendary Ice Howl. Ice Howl is the final of a triple set of beast bosses that was in WoW. It went Gormok the Impaler, which is the 4/4 for 4 if you remember. Then it went Acidmaw and Dreadscale, 2 giant ice worms, which we believe are going to be Hunter's 2 legendaries. Yes, they're getting an extra one to everyone else, and in-game they kind of worked off of each other. When one died, the other got really angry and more powerful, so I'm looking forward to that. And the reason I say this is because the third and final of the Beasts of Northrend is Ice Howl the Yeti. And before you say anything, he's not a beast because Yeti were technically classed as humanoid, or at least they are now. So, 9 mana, 10/10 charge, but it can't smack your face, which is good because a Yeti would probably break your face. This card's not bad. I mean, it's not bad. It's very much the embodiment of not bad. I mean, it's not going to kill everything because of the 12 health creatures, but they're not that common. But it is going to kill 90% of what's on the board when it gets played, because 10 attack is respectable. Obviously it is. There's very few double-figure anythings in the game naturally on their stats. So at the very worst, you play this, it kills something, your opponent has to finish it, you get a 2-for-1 out of this. It's kind of like Grommash without you needing to enable him, and he can't attack face, and Warriors obviously run that card a fair amount. Control Warrior loves it, it's a good win condition, but the point is Ice Howl can't be a win condition, so it's really inferior in that respect. The one advantage it has going for it, despite it being basically creature-based removal very late game, is that if your opponent ignores it, because they kind of can, because it can't kill them, the turn after you could technically silence it and then use it as a charge, which is nice, but is it really worth that 2-turn and 2-card investment for a 10 damage charge when you think of things like Pyroblast? Hell, I'd say even King Crush is better than this, because the extra 2/2 stats don't really matter that much. So I like this card conceptually. I like that they're toying around with powerful cards, but they can't attack heroes, because if you had some powerful early game cards like that, you would have strong anti-aggro tools, but I just don't think this is strong enough. I think it needs to have a bigger board effect. Maybe if it was Charge and Wind Fury, but can't attack heroes, then it would be a top tier legendary. Or if it cost, I guess, 8 mana potentially, but even then I don't really know. I think it's a good card in theory, but I don't think it'll see that much play. I mean, Druid playing Aviana on turn 10, then a 1-mana Ice Howl, that's pretty good, but there are better 1-mana legendaries you could play in that situation, so I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't think it'll see much play. It'll get a bit of experimentation, but you never know. The meta might get so slow, and board control such a big, important thing, that being able to lay down a 10/10, it's like a supercharge to Northrend. And to Northrend used to be very good, so I'd say it's not guaranteed that this card's gonna suck. I just think there is a pretty good chance it will. Next up then, we have Living Roots for the Druids! A 1-mana, choose 1, deal 2 damage, or summon 2/1 saplings. This card isn't terribly exciting, but it is pretty damn solid. Like, the versatility alone is great. The fact that you can play this instead of Zombie Chow, and it's a spell, not a minion, so your jousts are better because you don't have a 1-mana card in your deck, is great. The fact that you can either kill something or summon extra tokens for a Savage Roar token deck is great. Do you want to play 2-1s on turn 1? Honestly, against really fast aggro with 1 health creatures, you kinda do. That's fine. The ability to deal damage is good later on. Maybe you have run some spell power, maybe a Malygos druid deck. It's just a very solid, versatile card that honestly you can do a lot with, and I see this being played as one of the druids' kind of only early game straight up threats that they could have. I mean, 2 are Living Roots, 2 of Darnassus Aspirement, and that's all your early game sorted, honestly. I kind of like this card, I do. It's just very solid, very neat, and you can do a lot of things with it. Also fits into a lot of decks and can help create new ones, so all around, a very, very nice card. I'm glad it's in the game. It should make for some nice variety. Next up, we got Astral Communion. This card is ridiculous. Not in sense of it being ridiculously good, but just in sense of the sheer effect that it has. Discard your hand, then go to maximum mana. And they're not empty mana crystals, so you can then use them, though you've just discarded your hand, so you're not going to use them on much. But if you already had a board that can draw, then you can. But the point is, early on, Innovate or Innovate Coin, Double Innovate, if you get this out in the first couple turns, from that point on, you can top deck and play everything. So if you fill your deck with 2 Astral Communions, big creatures, and draw power, you could have a very neat archetype. And I really feel like this is going to go 2 ways. You either play Astral Communion, top deck like a boss, and stomp the game uncontested, or you play Astral Communion, and it reads, discard your hand, lose the game. It really does. What is nice to note about this, though, is that it lets you use Inspire effects really well, because you'll always have the spare mana to hero power, because you've got 10 bloody mana crystals, so short of a 9 or 10 mana card, you're going to be hero powering, so the Kodo that's a free 5 that summons a free 5, that might be okay, because, I mean, say you've played this on turn 2 with an Innovate, next turn you top deck the Kodo Rider, you play it, you hero power, you kill a little drop, you've now got 2 free 5s on your board, your opponent's got nothing, and they're on turn 3, I mean, hit that concede button. And Kodo Rider isn't even that strong, it's probably a weak example, but there are quite a few ways to make it work. And it makes Joust fantastic. Any Joust effect you draw, your deck is likely only full of massive minions because you're running Astral Communion and you want to take that gamble to just stomp the game, so you're going to win your Jousts. I just think it's brilliant, and just from a design standpoint, again, Blizzard are getting really kind of cray with this card. This expansion has gone from to I cannot wait as more and more cards get revealed. I think it's just very lovely and very neat. I really, really do. Astral Communion, what do you guys think? I definitely want to try it, and yeah, that's the thing. It's the kind of card that, irrelevant of how good it ends up being, you're very much, I do want to try that. I kind of really do want to try that. That's pretty neat. So, yeah, I'm happy with that. So, a new hunter card then, the Wrangler. An interesting name, I'll admit. It is definitely a very, very interesting name. And I kind of like the artwork as well. He looks very, very ridiculously happy to be there with that gun, with just the glimpse of what I think is a wolf in the background. So now the card name is just a lie. I should probably focus on the card itself. 3 mana free, 5 mana free, I can't read, is obviously terrible, abysmal, just horrific stats. However, if you have a beast, summon a random beast. This, I guess, most appropriately is compared to Tuskar Totemic, summon a random totem, and it's a good card. It is a good card. The downsides are it shares the 5 mana slot, which is very competitive, though actually not so much in Hunter, because nobody really plays a true control-y value Hunter, so no one really knows what the 5 mana slot would be, though doubtless Belcher would be there, so it still has to compete. However, the amount of variance on this is stupid. You have to get at least a 2 mana, no, I'd say 3 mana or above beast for it to be worth playing this card, which, to be fair, will happen more than not. So even getting something like a Kodo, a Tiger is good. Hell, even a Lost Tall Strider, the 5/4, you've made a lot of value on that. And then, of course, you've got ridiculous situations where this gives you King Crush or Gazrilla or new Hunter legendaries. Hell, even a Savannah Highmane is ridiculous. I like the card. I think it's a good card. I think it'll see experimentation. I just worry that this is becoming a theme, because you can get anywhere from a 1-mana card to a 9-mana card, and that kind of variance wins or loses games and is both frustrating for you and your opponent, depending on how well it goes. So, from an actual in-game perspective, it's going to be an annoying card, but objectively, I like the design, and I think it is quite potentially the powerful 5-drop for a hunter. I really do. Obviously, you've got to have the initial beast on your board, but that's not that difficult for a hunter, really. I mean, if you play a heavy beast hunter with Call Pet, I actually think this could work. I think it could fit into a new archetype altogether. Alright then, next up we have ourselves the legendary for the mage, Ronin, one of the powerfulest mages to ever exist, Law Rise, and he is quite something special, actually, in terms of, you know, who he is. The card itself is interesting. The card itself is interesting. It's a 7/7 for 8, which isn't, you know, it's not great, but it's only 1 mana less than the baseline 8 mana 8/8, so that's alright. The Death Rattle have had 3 copies of Icon Missiles to your hand. It's not crazy exciting, it's not crazy powerful, however it is crazy useful. It gives you 3 more procs of Antonidas, it gives you 3 more Arcane Missiles to use with Malygos as 1 mana spells, it gives you 9 damage worth of board clear, so imagine if it was Death Rattle, add a Avenging Wrath to your hand and it costs 3. That's pretty good value. It's not crazy. I don't think it's powerful enough to auto-include and start seeing play in damn near every deck. Hell, even 3 Arcane Missiles for Flame Wakers later on in the game is really, really powerful. So I think it's just a nice legendary, a good legendary that'll see play in a few decks and is just kind of alright. It's just nice to have, not game-breaking, not ridiculous, but it's also, you know, it's just fine to throw out there. You're never really going to lose out by playing this as your turn 8 play, honestly. I mean, maybe at that stage of the game, for Arcane Missiles isn't going to have that much of an impact, but I think it's more giving you more cheap spell synergy that's actually quite good. Especially if you can somehow get it out earlier, though I guess you need to unstable portal it maybe as a mage. Now I think about it, so that's probably not relevant, I'll admit. But think of the power if you got this out on turn 5. Actually, that would be quite ridiculous. But yeah, I like this card. It's just good. It's just fine. It's just okay. I realize I kind of like went 3 separate stages of quality there, but you know what I mean. It's just, yeah. It's alright, I'm happy that it's in my deck, but I also wouldn't terribly miss it if it wasn't. And that's alright for Legendary, it really is. So next up we get then a new Paladin card, Warhorse Trainer. This card is interesting, it really is. I mean, a 3 mana 2/4's not horrible. It's not great, though. I mean, there are a few useful 3 mana 2/4s, though they have started to fall out a bit. For example, Unbound Elemental used to be played all the time, and now you barely see the thing. But it does give all your Silverhand recruits 1 attack, so if you've coined on turn 2 Muster for Battle, you play this, you've got a pretty power trading board. And, you know, to note, it only needs to buff 1 recruit for it to have good stat distribution for the mana cost. So while I don't think this is crazy, it's not gonna really do much, it's kind of good support for a Paladin token deck. You put in the neutral card that double summons your tokens, you play Justicar and have your hero power double summon tokens, you play the Quartermasters, you play the Warhorse Trainers, you play other board buffing cards, you play Eredic the Pure as well to keep the board really, really non-threatening, and you just kind of build up an army of these guys. I mean, that might not be that strong, in fact I doubt it will be, but it certainly seems like fun. Really turn Paladin into, here's my army, you better deal with it. And I kind of like that. So I think Warhorse Trainer, inherently, not a very strong card, but it does slot into a potential archetype that could be a lot of fun to play. And it's not so weak that it's not good if you just throw it out there on turn 3. So it's not going to make many waves, but nor do I think it's trash. I think it'll have a place, Warhorse Trainer, at the very least initially. I really do. So next up then, a Priest card, Flash Heal. 1 mana, restore 5 health. I think this card is nuts. I think this card is fantastic. I think this card is wonderful. Not only is it the most healing to health in the game, to mana even. Healing to health? Yes, healing to health. Actually is it, because another card got revealed, which I'm excited to talk about soon. 1 for 5, scale that up. Yes, it is. This is the most healing per mana in the game, which is great. You whack 2 of these in your deck as a priest, not only can you stall with them, with an Arcani you can beat down 5 health creatures, and guess what the most common amount of health a creature has in the game right now? 5 health. Sylvanas, Thaurissan, Sludge Belchers. You can do a lot with this card. It's very versatile because it's in Priest, and I think it might replace Lighter than Naru. The question is it worth replacing that? Is the extra 2 health or 2 damage worth not getting the 1/2? I think with the Holy Champion card, which is just a bigger buffed version of that, I think you can get away with it. I think Flash Heal offers a lot of utility to Priest. I think it offers a lot of survivability, a lot of potential burst as well with some Velen or Arcani spell power shenanigans. I think you can do a lot with Flash Heal, and I'm excited that it exists, and Priests need a really powerful card like this. I, for one, am quite excited by it. I just think it's very, very solid. And you're never really going to be unhappy to see it, unless you're in a stupidly slow top deck war or something. And even then, the 5 health on a creature yourself might make a difference. So yeah. Next up is a card that I love, Confuse. Swap the attack and health of all minions for 2 mana. I love this card. I also think this card is mental strong. I think it's brilliant. You know why I think this card's brilliant? Because it lets you play a wall of a priest. It lets you be bullshit as a priest. It lets you play Mogushan Warden. It lets you play Tournament Medic, the 1/8 that heals you in your hero power. It lets you play lots of low attack, high health, survivable minions that keep you alive. Fill your deck with them. Get them on the field. When the time is right, confuse, mega effectively Bloodlust/Savage Raw them, because they're now all rocking 7-ish attack, and then you just smack your opponent to death. Now, while that sounds like a lot of fun, if it'll be a viable strategy is another story entirely. However, that you can now do that because of this card, I think that's great. And inherently, I also think this card is good enough just to whack in Priest, at least a one of them, because it does offer a lot of utility. There are a lot of times where swapping the attack and health of something is actually quite good. Reversing Switch and Alchemist aren't horrible effects, they're just not inherently good enough by themselves. I think this is a good card. Hell, even being able to swap your Northshire to a 3/1 to trade up once you're done with it, it's kind of neat. It is kind of neat. So, I'm a fan of this card. I think it's got very cool artwork, a very cool effect, affects the board, really does confuse everyone, and I think a very clever priest deck will rise up to really abuse this card. A lot of survivability, a lot of draw power, confuse for the win, and just dominate the board, and I could see that being awesome. I mean, there is every chance it just straight up sucks, because it affects everything, so you can't really selectively trade afterwards, because a lot of time health and attack aren't that different. A lot of 5/5s running around, especially that have been added to the game, but I think you could get a potential cool amount of value out of this. So I think it's either going to have its own deck that's really strong, or see maybe a one-of in every other priest deck just for the fun potential usefulness of them. But I guess there is also the slim chance it is just terrible, but I hope not, because I can see a lot of fun with that card. Next up then, the rogues have the Cut Purse. When this minion attacks the enemy hero, put a coin into your hand, a 2 for 2/2. This card is a shame. This card is very much a shame. It is. It's sad. And the reason it's sad is because getting a coin is brilliantly strong. Rogues love the coin. It lets them do so much. This card gives them another way to use Shadowpan Cavalry on turn 4, which is a big deal, because that minion's good if you can reliably use its combo. However, it's too weak in every way. If it was a 2-mana 2/3 with that effect, it would be a million times better. If it was a 2-mana 2/2, when it died you got a coin, it would be a million times better. If it was a 2-mana 2/2, whenever this minion just attacks in general you got a coin, it would be a million times better. But because it has none of these, you don't want to be playing a 2-drop and then hitting face with the 2-drop. You want to be board controlling at that stage. Unless you've got the Backstab or the SI7 or the Weapon items to deal with their board, so this can freely attack face, you're not going to get that much out of it. The ability to generate coins is wonderfully strong for rogues, and they would use it very well. I just don't think this card is reliable enough or strong enough without that effect to see play. I really don't. I think even times where you draw a coin, it's going to put you so far behind on board, the coin doesn't really do much for you. It's a very much risk-reward card. I find it interesting, and I'm happy that Blizzard are toying with this type of effect, really expanding what the cards can do. I think this is very much a severely underpowered test of generating coins. And if this doesn't see play, I think they'll make a stronger version of it. I really, really do. Alright, next up then, a Shaman card. Two of them, in fact. We have Healing Wave. Restore 7 health for free mana, which is just a tiny worse Healing Touch. Not that Healing Touch sees play, because that's inherently not great. However, reveal a minion in each deck. If your costs more, restore 14 health, free mana for practically half your health restored? Yes? Bloody yes, that is good. God, that's good. That is so good. I mean, that is just, it's really, really good. That card is great. That card is brilliant. Like, straight up, that card is wonderful. And the thing is, you can play this and replace heal bots, which make your Joust better. It makes Ancestral Call better. You can whack this in Malygos Shaman and not have to run the risk of pulling out heal bots with Ancestor's Call. You can just throw this in any old Control Shaman, one of, and have a big, powerful impact heal in the late game. This stops aggro dead when used correctly. It really does. This is a powerful card with a lot of uses, and I am so excited that Shamans, as one of the most prolific healers in WoW, finally have an actual healing spell. Ah, this is good. I like it. It's just strong. It is very strong. It's not the end of the world if you don't win the Joust either. 7 health is nothing to scoff at, and it's just, yeah, I like this card. Maybe I'm overvaluating it because I'm biased towards Shaman, but I think it's brilliant. Next up then, a new Shaman weapon, Charged Hammer. 2/4 for 4, your hero power becomes deal 2 damage when you use it up. Well, objectively, deal 2 damage as a hero power is brilliant. Better than totems, it's good, it's solid. So is the investment worth it? On turn 4, putting on a weapon using your entire turn that can't kill basically anything that's played on turn 3 or turn 4, that's terrible. For durability, unless you kill it yourself, which is wasted value again, by the time this comes online, it's going to be super late game, which, if the meta slows down that much, would be good, but you're going to be so weak with your weapon for so long that maybe even then it's not worth it. If it was a 2/2, or maybe a 3/4, maybe a 3/3, it just needs slightly different numbers to be good, because as it is, it's too weak, too slow, and not impactful enough. It really doesn't charge me with excitement. Hi! It's a shame because the death rattle's really strong, but the weapon itself is too weak to be worth it. Next up then, a Warlock card, Fist of Jaraxxus. I mean, that's a picture of Archimonde, but I guess I'll let that slide. When you play or discard this, deal 4 damage to a random enemy. So first up, 4 mana for 4 random damage is terrible. However, if you do discard this as a cost, I mean, that's just wonderful. It really, really is. I mean, Warlocks don't worry about draw power, so you can whack this in your deck, and you can play a Succubus to discard it. You can play Doomguards, of course. However, you're of course not guaranteed to discard this, and if you don't, it's just a terrible liability you've now got sat in your hand that's weak. If this is when you play a card with discard, this card will get discarded if possible, and then deal 4 damage. It would be God tier. But as it is right now, I find it interesting they're playing with more discard mechanics, but it's just simply too weak and not impactful enough to be worth running on the off chance that you discard it. So that is a shame. Alright, next up, so far out of every card released, this card is my award for card that everybody thinks is probably terrible that I think will actually be pretty good. The Dread Steed, 4 mana, 1/1, Death Rattle, summon a Dread Steed. So yes, effectively, unless you silence this card, you are never getting rid of it. So, let's say your opponent silences it because they're annoyed of permanent 1/1s. They've used a silence on a 1/1. Granted, it's a 4 mana card, but it's still not the most impactful card. There are much better things the Warlock can play that you want to silence. So that's okay for you. That is okay for you. If the meta slows down enough, you can afford to throw this out on turn 4. You can. You can take the loss in tempo. You can take the hit on your lead just to set this up. And what does setting this up then do? What does having a permanent 1/1 demon on your board do for you? It gives you mortal coil targets. It gives you the sacrificial pack target for a 5 heal for 0. It gives you the demon buffs, the 5/5 buff for 5 mana, even demon fuse if it's not as terrible as it, I mean, it just is, but you never know. Lets you play the +2/2 stats. It lets you interact with Mal'Ganis, and then probably most of all, it lets you play Anima Golem, which dies if you don't have another minion on your board, and with Dreadsteed, you're always going to have another minion on your board, unless, again, they wasted silence on not a very high-value target. So I like to see this as just having a permanent Demon Enabler token on your board that means you can always get Demon Synergy out of your cards, and a few others to boot. I kinda like that. I think that's pretty neat. I think it's a lot of fun. And imagine if you somehow acquire a Warsong Commander. That would be hilarious. But I think this card has a lot of sleeper value that people will experiment with, and I think it will be like Grim Patron. Everyone thought Grim Patron was terrible and at most would be a gimmick deck. It's now the best deck in Hearthstone. Or at least joint that, and definitely arguably. So I think Dreadsteed will be a lot better than we initially are giving it credit for. Okay, then, we have Alexstrasza's Champion. Now, this card is very interesting. First of all, the artwork is lovely, and the actual card itself, if we assume this battle cry goes off, a 3/3 charge for 2 is actually fantastic, and you're not going to see this run in any sort of aggro deck because it requires the dragon to be useful, and dragons are more high-end, and that kind of doesn't just mesh well together. So this actually kind of gives a dragon warrior a potential early game threat as well as some early game removal. This will likely go 2 for 1 if used well in the early game, and that's pretty good. It does, however, require some more early-ish dragons that you can keep in your opening hand to be released, because as it is right now, no matter how good the dragon synergy cards are that are low cost, you can't play them because you don't want to keep a 6 mana or more card sat in your opening hand, because that'll just lose you the game in, well, in the current meta it would, but actually thinking about it, if the Grand Tournament goes as slow as it's looking, it might actually be totally fine to keep a high-cost dragon, and then cards like this become really, really good. So I kind of like the idea of Dragon Warrior, I do. This is just a very nice, solid card. It really, really is. Sea Plunderer, 6 mana 6/7, which is just a Boulder Fist Ogre. When you draw it, deal 1 damage to all your minions. Now, a warrior doesn't say no to extra ways to activate his board. However, Flame Leviathan doesn't seem play for a reason. It's not good when you can't choose when to activate your board. If you draw this at the wrong moment, you could just ruin everything and basically lose the game. I really don't have much else to say to that. It's in the right moment, this card is brilliant. In the wrong moment, it loses you the game. It's not worth the risk. Warrior doesn't need a 6 mana 6/7. Patron Warrior doesn't need a big heavy card like this. It has no room for it before you go, it can support Patron Warrior, surely. It doesn't really need it. It really doesn't. It's strong enough as it is, and it wouldn't benefit from a high cost minion like this. Unless a new archetype comes up and maybe a massive enraged deck where there's almost never a bad time to damage your own board, I just don't see it being played that much. I like the artwork and I like the card itself, but I think it's too weak, and not being able to choose when it happens is too crippling. However, we then move on to the last card of discussion today, the Warrior Legendary Varian Rin. This card is bonkers. This card is nuts, this card is wonderful, and this card is just yes! 10 mana 7/7, which is horribly horrible. However, his effect, Battlecry, draw 3 cards. Now, if we left it at that, 10 mana 7/7, draw 3 cards, it would be okay, pretty decent, that's fine, I guess. Because, you know, Ancient of Law is good, and that's 7 mana, 5/5. Draw 2 cards, so, you know, it's just a buffed up version of that. However, any minions that you draw, put them directly into the battlefield? Lovely! Warrior, fill your deck with charges, Varian Rin, that could be a potent board clearing, endgame finishing combo there, and I think that is wonderful. I think this card is very, very strong, even if it draws free spells, that's fine. Even if it draws non-charges, you can get big buffed bodies onto the board. Even a Sludge Belcher from this is wonderful. I just think it's a very good, very solid card, and I think it will see a lot of play in quite a few decks. A solid addition to Control Warrior, and I think it may even spawn a whole charging-based archetype. I just like it. I think it's a really powerful, neat legendary, and fitting of the King of Stormwind, leader of the entire alliance. So I'm happy he is actually worth playing and quite strong. So there you go, guys. That is all the cards that have been released since I last talked about everything that was going on. Yes, indeed. So for now then, my name has been Rage. I will see you all next time. Remember to like if you've enjoyed this, and subscribe for more. Let me know what you think as well. Oh, goodbye. You've been watching